Hey guys, King. Welcome to another episode of Get Prepped Podcast, where we talk voice actors, nonprofit leaders, and business owners about the gonna be a new game, Get Prepped. Today we have another one of our voice actors, one that's been with us for a while. He's a singer-songwriter and a wedding DJ. We actually connected at a meet and greet between a lot of the cast and crew of Get Prepped. He is Chris Kibbe. Thanks for coming on, Chris.
Oh, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me so much, Caden. It's you've done a great job with the social media, and I've caught up many of the interviews. They're very interesting. Thanks for having me.
Of course. My first question for you is, how did you get into voice acting?
Well, as you mentioned in the introduction, I was a wedding disc jockey for 17 years, I want to say, and I started out there. I had my own little studio, and, if local businesses needed, somebody to do a voiceover, then I would do that for them. And I've always tried to be funny with my voice and with my friends and disguise my voice and try to do impressions and different things like that. People mostly around near where I live, and very, very local level. And so, but I've always been interested in doing voice acting in terms of like a video game. And I was on Facebook one day, and I just happened to be on a voiceover forum, just kind of reading through, and all I did was comment. I said, it's really fun industry to get into, but it's really hard industry to get into, but it is very, very fun, and you learn a lot, and it's cool. Unfortunately, there's not a ton of work because there's so much competition. And it was just something like that. And I forgot about the comment. But then it was just a couple days later when Denise Barbuto reached out to me and asked me if I'd be interested in voicing on a video game.
That's definitely amazing. A lot of the people I've had on here started out in a different field altogether, including one recently I talked to that's coming out later, who started out with broadcast. And so I definitely like what you said about starting off as a wedding DJ, which leads me to my next question. What was your favorite role to take on in your career?
My favorite role, I think, is when I was singing full time. I did that for, I want to say, almost 10 years. I was able to sing full time. Never made a lot of money, never was famous. But it was fun to open up for Charlie Daniels one time. And that was my big claim to fame. He was a local venue here. And the man who was the artist, or is the artist for the comic strip Nancy, his name is Guy Gilchrist. He was putting on an event for Scurloderma and asked me if I would come in and sing 3 songs. And so I did. It was wild. I got to meet Charlie, and that was a lot of fun. That was back in 2003, and I stopped singing full time in 2010. But I would have to say that was probably my favorite time.
That definitely sounds like a great time. I love old country, especially Charlie Daniels. My next question for you is, what's a funny or challenging on-stage or in-the-booth moment that you've had in your career that you can share with us?
Well, challenging was, I would have to say, on an emotional level, because, when you're DJing, say, a wedding or an event, and you have to speak and you have to say the right thing, sometimes on the fly. And this was at a wedding reception, and the bride's father had passed away. And so she wasn't going to get to do a dance with her dad. Instead, she chose to do it with her brother. And as they were dancing, in the background were pictures on a big giant screen, like fading back and forth, of times when, with the two of them, with their dad, when they were little and all through the years. And it was extremely, extremely emotional. And the song they chose was There You'll Be by Faith Hill. And when the song was over, and everybody was clapping, I'm supposed to say something there. And I was speechless. So I just took the microphone and I said, that was incredible. And then that's all I could say. So that was pretty challenging. I was caught on the spot there. And for those who know me, they know that I really never am stuck for something to say, but I was then.
It's definitely challenging. I've heard a lot of answers on here, but I've never heard of an emotional challenge. So that was a great answer. My last question for you is, if you could take on any voice role, past or present, who would it be and why?
Any voice role. Wow. Wow, that's a tough one. Any voice role. I would say it might have to be Casey Kasem. Now, a lot of people might not know who he was, but he was a disc jockey and he used to do the top 40. And he used to say, America's top 40, I'm Casey Kasem. And he would say, and now it's time for an long distance dedication. This one comes from Caden in Michigan. He writes, I'm just making up the names, of course. He writes, Dear Casey, my wife and I have been married for 5 years. On our 5th year anniversary, I bludgeoned her 87 times. Casey, could you please play Lady in Red? Here's your long distance dedication. So I like to do Casey Kasem impressions. So if there was ever a part, I think he did the voice of Shaggy on Scooby-Doo. I could have done that one. I hope that's a good answer.
That's a really good answer, and I think I might have heard his voice once or twice, so that's definitely a unique choice. Anyways, that's going to do it for this interview, guys. Thanks so much to Chris for coming on and sharing his story. If you guys want to see more amazing interviews with those involved in Get Prepped, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the Get Prepped channel. And to learn more about the game, scan the QR code here. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.